night before the Indianapolis 500. The field comes around 24 strong, and the green is waving. Here we go.
Oh, we got a car on the wall already. It's Gerster. He and Lang got together as they came down, and Gerster got into the front straightaway wall.
They're hooked up right now. Actually, Kevin Doty and Jimmy McCune look like the bumpers are hooked up.
There they are, all hooked together, going down the backstretch. They're trying to free themselves, but they cannot. They pull down to the inside of the racetrack. We have no caution so far. The cars are not, however, going to make it to the entrance to the pit area, and so the caution does come out finally as the field comes off of the second corner, and now everybody checks up down the backstretch.
That's the best thing they could have done, is lock themselves up. When they locked up like that, is to stop on the racetrack, create the yellow so where they can get unseparated, and then rejoin the field.
Yeah, probably they'd have been better off if they'd have done it a little sooner, so they would not have finished the first lap.
Exactly.
Now then that the first lap is finished, you're going to go to a single file restart, which is going to put them way in the back.
Let's take a look at it once again and find out what happened as they came down to take the flag.
Michael Lang came off real low, but he came out and got into the side of Gerster. Gerster got up into the fence. He kept the race car straight, though. But look at that right front wheel. It looked like it's bent as he goes through the first and second corner, although he ran pretty fast for that first lap. Right here, we see those two guys get run into each other. They got connected. They just couldn't get unconnected all the way through turns 1 and 2 and down the back straightaway. Finally, they had to stop, and the push trucks had to get them disconnected over there.
Kevin Doty and Jimmy McCune back there in the backstretch, and Steve Butler reports that they were hooked together here on the main straightaway. So they ran all the way through the main straightaway in turns 1 and 2 before they came to a halt. Now, here is the ruling. You can see the flag man. We see him at least. He is indicating that it's going to be a 2 abreast restart. So that first lap is not going to count, although they did come down and complete 1 lap. They are going to have a complete restart, and everybody 2 by 2 as Kevin Doty arrives here on the main straightaway. And there is Jimmy McCune also coming through the pit area. Back for the restart in just a moment.
Way lower than it normally is. That push truck bumper has ridden over it. They've actually gone over it twice, and they've just banged the tail all up trying to get the thing started. They're going to have to get a push truck with a lower push bar.
And Steve Butler, you're right down there with what's going on.
Yeah, Bob, it looked like, you know, the bumper was deformed a little bit from the action on the track, and then the push truck just went right over the top of it, bent the tank in. So, unfortunately, Kevin Doty's out of the race.
That probably was the biggest break that Jimmy McCune could have had, is for the push truck to get over the top of the bumper. That gave him time to get his right front tire changed, and they just pushed him off.
Jimmy McCune is underway. Well, no, he isn't either. His car is down in the warm-up lane in turn number 1. Push truck going to get it, but the 99 of Kevin Doty is apparently going behind the wall and into the pit area, and the night is over for Kevin Doty. Tough break. You can see the damage there on the tail end of the car.
Remember last year when we had starters? You could have started that baby up and driven her off. Now then you're out of the race.
All right, the field comes down once again looking for a restart, and the green is out. Here we go once again. We hope that we can get through this one with no problem. Into turn number 1, they hustle 3 wide, and it appears as if Michael Lang has the advantage down the backstretch, but
Michael Lang does have the advantage down the backstretch. I think that's Kenny Irwin Jr. right behind him in that Bob East car, and looks like he's on him pretty hot and heavy at this point.
Gerster running in 3rd spot in the blue car. That's Barth in number 14, the yellow car to the inside, and Kenneth Nichols, the green car right beside Barth, down the backstretch. And now here comes Kenny Irwin challenging for the lead. He runs wheel to wheel with Michael Lang through the 3rd and 4th turns, and Irwin grabs the advantage coming down.
I tell you what, they've been running side by side through the middle of the corner more here tonight than I've seen them do in the last 2 or 3 years. Steve Barth has run down on the inside for the last 2 laps and seems to be running just as fast as the guy up in what I think is the faster groove.
I think the Silver Crown race last week created 2 grooves. They started 30 cars, which they haven't done for a long time here at Raceway Park, and a 100-lap feature, which they haven't done for the last couple of years. So I think that that's helped revive the track and make it a true two-group track again.
There is Barth down the inside, Larry.
Just the rubber down there, you think, helps make that groove faster, right?
Absolutely. This track, it takes a couple races after the winters come through to really get 2 grooves in. The track's very green, and it takes a long time to get the rubber down, but the Silver Crown race definitely helped this racetrack.
Barth a little loose coming off the corner. He still is trying to get around Kenneth Nichols in that green number 16 car, running to the low side, but Nichols holds him off for 4th. Barth is in 5th position.
Yeah, it looks to me like Barth is going to have to get up top and cool the tire down. Even though it's as fast down there, it's harder on the right rear tire. We've heard some of the drivers earlier say that tires might be a problem in 50 laps here, so the drivers are going to have to be aware and take care of that right rear, especially early in the going.
Now that's Doug Kalita on the left, and Larry in car number 30 behind him, all of them behind Barth. This is Ryan Newman's CarQuest cage cam as he battles at the back of the pack.
That's Robbie Flock right in front of him. Newman trying to get around Robbie Flock in Ralph Potter's car. Right in front of him is Domart.
If you look at Ryan's hands, he's very, very ginger with the steering wheel right now. With the 50-lap race, you don't want to see him on the wheel right now. He's doing a very good job. He's being very steady. He's saving his equipment right now. He knows he's not going to win this race in the first 10 or 15 laps.
He looks like he's on a Sunday afternoon drive out there. Just no effort whatsoever.
I hope that's what my car looks like tomorrow.
As you can see, Kenny Irwin has jumped out to a fairly healthy advantage. There is the separation between first and second, as Lang is still in second spot, but first Gerster in the blue car look to the inside going into turn number 1. That's Kenneth Nichols and Barth as they continue to battle side by side. Oh, and we have a problem. Gerster
blew an engine. That thing came apart going down the back straightaway. Luckily, everybody was paying attention, got out of the throttle. He got down to the bottom of the racetrack as quickly as he could. That was a great job by everybody on the racetrack, because that could have been a disaster.
You didn't know whether the smoke was from a car hitting the wall or whether the engine went up, but it is an engine, and now Lang takes over from Kenny Irwin.
That's a shame, because they had 15 cars in that lead pack running nose to tail, and that's pretty good for here at Raceway Park to have that many cars that close together. It just shows how competitive this midget series is.
Oh, it's a tremendously competitive series. And I think what happened over there, I think Kenny Irwin saw the yellow.
Yeah, you're right.
And, of course, he got out of the throttle. Lang maybe didn't see it, went on around. But I'll tell you what, that was a big time blow up going down that straightaway. Wow.
That's hard to see through that.
I was going to say, you couldn't see it, could you? With all that smoke,
that
everybody.
Is very, very difficult.
And everybody did a great job to keep the race car straight. Nobody panicked. Nobody did anything silly. Therefore, they all got through.
But look at what happened as he came off of corner number 2. Just all of a sudden, boom, the engine up in a flame and smoke.
Brian did a good job too. You notice he didn't bring the car down in a hurry. He brought it down real gradual. That gave guys behind him time to adjust their line to get through. He had his hand out. He's waving to the guys behind him, telling them he's got a problem.
You can see Steve Barth in the yellow car, though. He headed for the bottom. Nichols headed for the top. I mean, everybody was trying to split and get out of that smoke so they could see what was going on. They all did a really nice job, because it could have been a disaster if somebody had just made the wrong move at the wrong time.
Steve Butler is right there. Go ahead, Steve.
Okay, we got a lot going on in the Bonito pits down here, Bob. Brian Gerster's problem is the oil filter seal blew out, and you can see his mechanic trying to change the oil filter and get him back out there. And at the same time, their sister car, driven by Kevin Doty, back at the start-finish line, has got Kevin back in it. They repaired the fuel tank, and they're planning on going back out. So this team isn't giving up. They're trying to get both cars back in the race, Bob.
That's the Bonito team that are trying to get their drivers back into the race. Gerster sits and waits, and Doty also trying to get back out there to complete a few laps. Gerster, as we indicated, 4th in the point standings going into this race, so that's a bit of a blow for him. We will take a break and be back with more of the night before the 500 USAC midget race. 9 laps are completed out of 50. Lap Indianapolis Raceway Park. The track cleanup continues, and while they clean up the track, we're going to show you more about the long tradition of this event. It has not always been held here at Indianapolis Raceway Park. Here's Donald Davidson.
Right across the road from the south end of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway stands a shopping center. In the early days of the Speedway, that was farmland over there. But from 1946 until 1958, there was a quarter-mile paved oval for midgets and stock cars. They ran all summer long here for 13 years, but the big thing was the night before the 500 Midget Classic. They'd run 3 completely separate programs with hot laps, qualifications, heats, and feature. As soon as the trophy presentation was over, they'd clear everybody out of the grandstands, run through to pick up the trash, line them up at the ticket window, and do it all over again. Twice. The first program would start mid-afternoon, the second in the evening, and the late-night final would see the checker fall on the 100-lap feature at, around 2:30 in the morning. The greatest accomplishment ever? How about 1956, when Clark Shorty Templeman won all 3 features? And making his USAC debut that very same night was 21-year-old A.J. Foyt. He made 2 of the 3 features, and the next morning went across the street to watch the Indianapolis 500. Not only did the night before the 500 Midget Classic begin here at West 16th Street Speedway in 1946, that was actually the day that the track opened. After it was torn down to make way for the shopping center in 1958, the night before event was held at a variety of tracks around the area. But since 1969, with just a couple of exceptions, it's been held right here at Indianapolis Raceway Park.
Long-standing tradition continuing here tonight, and Brian Gerster is back in the race.
Yes, they got him in there. They put a new oil filter on. I guess, Tony, what was the problem with the oil?
It looks like the oil was sitting in the bottom of the pan, which while it was sitting there in the pit lane, it all dripped out, and you can see all the oil dry that the safety crews brought down to absorb all the oil.
So they wiped it all out of the oil pan, got it all wiped off the race car, put some more oil in that baby, and back out on the racetrack. It's going to be interesting to see, though, because he's quarterback at the back of the pack.
You see him line up behind his teammate Kevin Doty. They got his rear bumper fixed, put a brand new rear bumper on it, and they've got him back out on the track.
So both of the Bonito cars are at the back of the pack as we await the restart. There's still some cleanup that's going on. They put down the oil dry, and now the second truck is coming along with the guys in the back with their brooms trying to work it in a little bit, but we aren't too far away from going green once again.
Now, and it's going to be interesting to see if we can, if Michael Lang has anything for Kenny Irwin. Kenny Irwin looked like he had things well in hand when this thing took off. And it's also going to be interesting to watch these 2 Bonito cars, especially Brian Gerster. He's coming in through the pit area. He's pulled back in through the pit area. He must have some other sort of a problem that he's coming in to fix before the start of this race.
Let's go to Steve Butler right quick.
Okay, Bob, we've been showing you the view of the big pile of oil here that leaked out of his belly pan, but what we can't show you on camera is there's a stream of oil all the way out of the pit, so there's a lot of quantity of oil trapped in the car that's going to continue to leak off of it for a little while.
Well, the car has pulled into the pit area, and I'm not sure what's going on. There is the oil that was there before the cleanup crew came along with their powder and put it down.
I think Brian Gerster may have an oil pressure problem right now. That's the only gauge that he has in there. He has a water temperature gauge and he has an oil pressure gauge. And that's the only thing that would tell Brian that he has a problem. I saw the crew bring 2 more quarts of oil down, so that's at least 5 quarts of oil that I've seen the crew put in the car so far. So he really lost a lot of oil.
Yeah, I'm not even sure. I didn't think you were allowed to add oil during the races. I thought it was illegal to add oil during the race, but they've obviously had to add some here because he leaked a lot of oil during that pit stop.
By the way, these yellow laps are not counting. We've still only completed 9 as Gerster gets restarted once again and falls in at the tail of the field. The light atop the pace car is out. We are about to go back to racing. We will complete, our 9 laps have been completed right now as Kenny Irwin leads Michael Lang through turns 3 and 4. Now the pace quickens. The green flag is waving. The race is on again.
Right there, you can see everybody. Kenny Irwin had all kinds signs of trouble. The racetrack's all slick. He's got his arm out. That thing wouldn't take off on the restart. So we got another big problem on this restart. And now then another car slows way down over there. I think he thought the race wasn't on.
Man, I don't know, but that car is very, very slow down the backstretch. And now Kenny is bringing it into the pit area. Man, that could have been a major catastrophe, but it was avoided. And now another engine lets go.
It's Gerster again.
Yeah. Big puff of steam or smoke down in one. Brian Gerster once again. The caution comes out, and a car up against the fence in turn number 3.
John Cox.
The racetrack, that's Ronnie John Cox up against the wall down there. There's a lot of oil on the racetrack. Obviously, Brian Gerster is throwing oil all over the racetrack. He's blowing that oil filter off twice, so Tony was right. There's a big oil pressure problem with that race car.
I was watching John Cox. He ran up over the right rear of somebody, and I thought he was going head first into the wall and into the catch fence, as we have seen on a couple of occasions here at Raceway Park. But really, this thing turned out to be not nearly as bad as it could have been. John Cox out of the car. Okay. He's out of the race.
I can tell you this place, when it gets oil down and it doesn't get cleaned up properly, this place is an ice skating rink. It is like driving in winter. It's hard to see because the lights here, the way the track surface looks, it always looks like it's wet. So it's hard to tell when you've got all the oil up, but I can tell you when this place gets dumped with a lot of oil, it is a big problem for a lot of guys.
Well, let's take a look at the start. Kenny Irwin came down off of corner number 4, and suddenly the car just didn't go.
His hand is out already. He's trying to get out of the way. That thing would not run. And look, way down on the inside. Can't tell who that was. Looks like Leary. That was Leary, way down the inside of the racetrack. He kept the thing under control. But Kenneth Nichols and Steve Barth were the two big winners on that. And look at Fedorchak. Fedorchak thinks there's no start. He's out of the throttle. He's lost a half a dozen spots just because he didn't think they were going to start the race.
Boy, that was something. And there is John Cox's car up against the wall in turn number 3. So now just 10 laps have been completed. We only ran 1 before we had another problem. They're going to have to check out this track because there appears to be oil on it. We'll be right back. St. John, Jeff Sands, and Mike Fedorchak. Well, very unfortunate moment for Kenny Irwin Jr. here just a few minutes ago. When the green came out, he didn't. Steve Butler, what is going on down there?
Well, you can see Kenny Irwin's frustration. Apparently his car is working great, but his throttle linkage slipped. So when he gave it the gas on the start, the throttle just closed on him, and the car's fine, but he has no control over the horsepower. So he's ready to get out there and get back on the gas.
Yeah, you can see he was plenty frustrated, all right. I'll tell you, it's been a pretty frustrating couple of weeks here for that young man. He's been running fast almost every time I've seen him run here in the last month, but it seems like something always goes wrong. He just can't have any luck, and it looks like it's bit him here again tonight.
Kenny Irwin and I are teammates this year for Steve Lewis, and I got the pleasure of running with Kenny at Phoenix, and he gets very animated down in the pits at times. You know, he really works hard at what he does, and it's going to be a real joy to watch him come from the back of this pack to get to the front again.
Yeah, it is. He's still got 40 laps to see how much ground he can make up. He's not losing anything because these laps do not count. Let's take a look at some of the upcoming United States Auto Club races that you can enjoy if you're in the area. The Stoops Freightliner Sprint Car Series visits Eldora Speedway in Rossburg, Ohio tomorrow. Next Saturday, the Sprint Car Series is at I-96 Speedway. That's in Lake Odessa, Michigan. And the National Skull Midget Series is at Beaver Dam Raceway in Wisconsin. Here comes the green flag. We are back into racing, and now Barth challenges Nichols on the inside, headed to 1.
Barth and Nichols, we saw those two guys running side by side, except the last time we saw them doing that, they were running for 4th and 5th. Now they're running for 1st and 2nd and doing the same thing.
Kenneth Nichols really had a tough season last year, but at the first 3 midget races that I've seen this year, Kenneth Nichols has been the strongest midget here with the exception of Danny Dryden. He was fast timing again tonight, and with the exception of Steve Barth, it looks like that these two guys got him covered so far.
That was Doug Coletta that just took 3rd position from Michael Lang, and so Coletta now coming up to challenge, and a good battle up front for the lead. Nichols knocking on the door of Steve Barth as they come down to complete lap 12.
Actually, Steve Barth just went around him going into 3. He went into 3, very hard, drifted up in front, did exactly that slide job that we've been talking about, and took the lead away from Kenneth Nichols. Like he said, Kenneth Nichols looks like a rejuvenated driver, a whole new team this year, 100% different than that team looked last year.
Absolutely. Tracy Hines really knocking on Michael Lang's door. He came out of the last chance race, and he really looks like he's got those problems fixed. He said he was loose on the entry and loose on the exit, and his car really looks strong early in this main.
And there is the battle. That is Lang leading Hines, and Larry looking back from Lang onto the other cars. And now Hines heads for the bottom of the racetrack and on the main straightaway.
Look at Coletta up there at that lead, though. Coletta is really knocking on the door of the front pack.
There he is, Doug Coletta running in third position behind Nichols and Barth. Nichols has an idea on the outside, and is he going to make it? No.
Barth seems to be running a lower line around this racetrack than anybody I've seen that's been running that fast for the last, really the last year. He runs about a half car width lower than almost anybody else, and he seems to be able to make it work for himself.
Dick St. John has pulled off the racetrack. He's out of the race. The battle is up front. First, second, and third coming down. Lap 16 in the books. It's still Barth leading Nichols and Coletta.
Nichols wants to go around the outside. There's just not quite enough room. He's moved down a half car length. He needs to move down just a little bit more to give Nichols that shot around the outside. He just doesn't quite have the room that he's comfortable with up there right now.
Meanwhile, back here in fourth position, that battle rages on as Lang continues to hold off the advance of Leary and Hines. Leary has gotten around Hines.
Leary has gotten around Hines. Whoa, he pulled right up in front of him right there. That looked real close from where we're sitting.
Michael Lang is a veteran of the Indianapolis Speedrome, which is a fifth-of-a-mile racetrack on the east side of Indianapolis. He's on the west side tonight, doing a fine job in fourth position, holding off the advances. And now Coletta heads for the bottom of the track, but Kenneth Nichols still is able to hold him off. This is a great battle up front.
Barth is holding these guys up. After he got into the lead, he moved down on the racetrack just a little bit. And when he did, he started to hold up. Well, we got a car back there into the wall just a little bit, but he recovered. That looked like Leary.
Yep.
As he was up there, he lost 2 positions in that little scrape with the wall.
Hit the wall coming off corner number 4 here on the main straightaway. He continues, but he lost a couple of positions. It still is Kenneth Nichols right behind Steve Barth, and Doug Coletta trying to find a way around in third position.
Coletta and Nichols both very frustrated right now. They both have faster race cars. They both know where they want to go, but they don't have room enough to go there. We're seeing Nichols right now. He's around the top. He's got that pass made right now.
Yes, he does. At the line, he is ahead of Barth, and now off into turn number 1. Kenneth Nichols has taken the lead. Kenny Irwin Jr. has pulled off the racetrack. He's out. Doug Coletta looking for second from Steve Barth, and Coletta will get second position. So now it's Nichols, Coletta, and Barth. And Coletta a little squirrely there in the corner.
Yeah, both those cars got around Barth. I think Barth ran that low groove long enough. I think he's heated up his right rear tire just a little bit. Don't you, Tony?
I think so. You know, that was a great move by Kenneth Nichols. You know, he waited. He was very patient. It seemed like every lap that went by, Steve Barth moved down just a little lower and a little lower. He was very patient, even though he had Doug Coletta on his tail. And finally, when the opportunity came around, then he, you know, really made a good move on it and took the lead.
Let's go back here at this fourth place battle as Michael Lang and Tracy Hines are wheel to wheel through the corner. Lang has been able to hold off the challenge for the first 23 laps, but now Hines may have a run at him in the third and fourth turns. Hines is on the inside. Let's see if he comes out with the 4th spot. No, Lang is just unrelenting.
Lang's not going to give up easy. He's got the groove. He's going to make them go someplace else. Tracy Hines ran all the way through that corner on the bottom. Looked like he was going to get it pulled off, but in the end, Lang had the preferred line off the corner and pulled away.
There you can see the advantage that Kenneth Nichols has opened up over Coletta.
And it looks like Michael Lang's pulled a little bit ahead of Tracy Hines. Tracy probably did, like Larry mentioned, probably spent too much time trying to pass Michael. He may have to sit back there for a while, let his right rear tire cool down, and then make another charge on him.
And Andy Michener has joined this battle too. He's the third car in line there, the white machine, car number 91.
Tires are very, very important in a race of this length. Most of the races they run out here at Raceway Park are 30-lap races. You can get by with a softer tire. You can get by with abusing the right rear tire a little bit. But in a 50-lap race, you're already at 26 laps. You have to be very, very careful not to overheat that right rear tire at this point of the race, because if you do, somebody's going to come after you real quick.
We are just past the halfway mark. 27 laps completed out of 50 at Indianapolis Raceway Park. Kenneth Nichols has the advantage at the moment. Along with Larry Rice, Tony Stewart, and Steve Butler at Indianapolis Raceway Park. You're watching first and second with 28, almost 29 laps completed. Kenneth Nichols and Doug Coletta.
The racetrack has changed drastically. The tires have changed drastically, so things are changing really quick on the racetrack as a consequence. The Michener and Leary back here in about 6th and 7th position. These guys battling for it's not 6th and 7th, it's 6th and 7th, I'm sorry. 6th and 7th position, battling very hard as Leary at one time got up a couple positions up farther. He was up to about 4th and 5th position and lost all that when he banged the front straightaway wall. And now then he's trying to get back around Michener.
He's really working that right rear tire hard. Every time that we've looked at him, he's really got the right rear hung out, and that's going to take its toll later on in this race.
Doug Coletta took a run at Kenneth Nichols there in turn 3 that lap, but Nichols would not give up the front position, and he hangs on with 31 laps completed, 19 to go.
And you're going to see Coletta, he made that one big run, he got in under him, and then he fell back. You're going to watch him kind of run along here and catch him very slowly, because he knows if he heats up the right rear tire too much, it's going to cost him the race. So he's got to be patient. He's got to catch him and make that pass in one big fell swoop. He can't waste any time.
Kenneth Nichols entered this race in 2nd position in the point standings, 19 behind Kenny Irvin, who's already out of this race. Doug Coletta, on the other hand, came in 8th in the point standings with 52 points.
This is the hard part of the race. This is the part where Doug Coletta doesn't know whether Kenneth Nichols is showing all of his cards or not. He may be holding back a little bit, trying to save the right rear tire for the last 5 or 10 laps of this race. And you don't know if Doug Coletta's showing everything he's got. He may have no race car left, and at the same time trying to save his tires for later in the race.
That's the good thing about a longer race, though, isn't it, Tony? The fact that you do have some strategy. You do have some little extra cards to play that you don't have in a 20 or 30 lap race.
Absolutely. You know, you really have to take care of your equipment here. This is a very hard and difficult track on tires, and it's very easy to use too much tire too quick in this event. You know, with lap cars and all the cars that'll be coming back through the pack later on, you've got to really play it easy. You know, in the past, I know I've taken it easy till somebody's showed me their nose, and as soon as you see that someone's there, then you pick the pace up a little bit. If you get away for 8 laps and you don't see anybody, then you ease off a little bit. But you have to be careful, because the guy behind you may do the same thing, and then all at once, when you ease up, he may go right on by you with one big move and ruin your race.
So Kenneth Nichols continues to hang on to the lead, coming up on a slower car up in turn number 1.
Coletta seems to catch him just a little bit as they gather up that slower car. Looks to be Irish Jim McCune that they're going around right there. But right there, Coletta spent a little time right in the middle of the corner down under McCune, and that's not a good thing to do when you're in lap traffic.
Ryan Newman is in some traffic carrying our CarQuest cage cam. He's back in 17th position at the moment. Now we're seeing a little more sawing of the wheel, Tony, than we did earlier in the race.
Doesn't look near like you did earlier in the race. You know, like I say, you got to take care of your equipment early. And now we're over halfway through the race. We have 12 laps to go, and now is when you got to start using that tire a little bit more. You know, if you're going to make a move, he's got to catch the guy in front of him, and then hopefully have enough laps to make a move later.
That was Nate Law, by the way, that you saw just a moment ago in the pit area. So it's over for Nate Law, who started back in the last row.
We really, had to turn right there. The car got really loose on him. You really don't want to see that. That's the part of this is the part of the race where, you know, the balance of your car may have started nice at the beginning, but you have to set up for the end. A longer race, you really like to have your car just a little bit on the tight side where it has a little push with the front end. So later on in the race, when the fuel burns off, then your car becomes more neutral.
Hey, look at this. Kalita has caught Nichols and may be ready to make a challenge.
Well, this is where we're going to find out who's been showing all their cards or not. As Tony said earlier, as Kalita's caught him, is Nichols just resting a little bit, or is he giving everything he's got? Well, he doesn't have but 10 laps to go, so it's time to let it all hang out, as they say.
Now into turn one. Kalita took a look to the inside, but Kenneth Nichols holds him off.
There are no mirrors on these cars, so what Kalita doesn't want to do is get up the side of him, let him know he's there. When he gets ready to pass him, he wants to pass him in one quick, easy move, because once Nichols knows he's there, he's going to try just that much harder. Whether there's any tire left or not, he's going to make it a lot more difficult once he knows he's back there. He may already know. You can actually see shadows. The photographers take pictures of the cars as you're going through there. When those things start happening, you know somebody's on your tail.
He better show everything he's got right now, because they're coming up on 5-lap cars, and as we saw in the Silver Crown race last week, Kenny Irwin had a 6-car length lead in the last lap, and Mike Bliss was able to get by because he got boxed in traffic. So if Kenneth Nichols has any more than what he's got right now, he better show it. It's better to get a couple lap cars in between you to kind of use it as insurance in a way.
Boy, they got a lot of traffic up ahead. Nichols goes to the inside. Kalita does the same in turn number 3. Now they're separated by a car as they come onto the straightaway. But now Kalita still only about a half a car length behind Kenneth Nichols.
They both did a great job getting through the traffic. There was about 3 cars there. Both of them, they split. They actually went on the opposite sides of the race. Oh, look at this. Kalita's down on the inside of him. Let's see if he can make a stick. He's not going to give up easy, but he couldn't.
Yes, he did. He got it. Kalita got the lead. Off the corner they come, and yes, Kalita has the lead now. 45th lap, he took over the lead. Kenneth Nichols now becomes the chaser.
And there's a good example of a lap car. Kenneth Nichols didn't get by Chris Schultz. That's already given Kalita a 6-car length lead already in 1 lap.
That time he went on by him, but it did cost him a lot of ground that he couldn't afford to give up this late in the race.
Absolutely.
And the laps are ticking off. There are less than 4 laps to go now. 46 complete. There's Mike Nowicki, the car owner for Kenneth Nichols, now watching his driver in 2nd position. Kalita moves around a slower car on the straightaway. That's Jeff Sands in car number 10, and now 2 cars separate 1st and 2nd. And Nichols goes to the outside to pass Sands. Now just 3 laps to go, about 2.5 actually.
That was a great move on the outside to get through lap traffic. With 3 laps to go, he's got to show everything he has right now.
That's right. That was a great move. He did a nice job, but boy, not much time left. He's going to have to really get her up pretty quick.
So Doug Kalita may be on his way to a win here at Indianapolis Raceway Park. The next time around, he'll get the white flag. 1 more lap to go, and we have a crash in the 4th turn. It's Chuck Leary.
And it's Lang. Lang also involved as he's spinning up the other end of the front straightaway.
So with 47 laps completed, we have a caution on the racetrack. Leary was battling for 5th position when the accident occurred up in turn number 4. He hit the 4th turn wall pretty hard. You can see him moving around in there. He's okay, but the car took quite a shot.
Michael Lang's left rear tire, as he came by the scoring stand, it sounded like it blew the left rear tire, so that may have caused Michael's problems down here.
Michael Lang also getting out of his car. Let's take a look at what happened. There is Leary to the inside.
Oh, Leary just got in there, got sideways up and over the left rear of Michael Lang. He got sideways and punched the wall head on up there. Bang, right there. And when he got over the left rear tire of Michael Lang, he goes on down and turns the race car around. Right here, it punches the wall pretty hard, front end first. But that was after he got over the front end or the back end of Michael Lang. Lang blew the left rear tire. That's what turned him around when Leary got up over that tire and blew it out, and he just couldn't control it down the front straightaway.
So we've got Leary up in turn number 4, and we got Michael Lang down near turn number 1. All this means another caution flag. The field is bunched up. And there are 3 laps to go. This should be quite a shootout to the checkered flag when the track is cleared and we go back to racing. Doug Coletta is the leader at the moment. Kenneth Nichols running in 2nd position, then Hines, Barth, and Mishner. We'll be right back. And we're back at Indianapolis Raceway Park, just about to go green, but a couple of thank yous before we go any further. First of all, to the CarQuest people for the cage cam that is so dramatic here at Indianapolis Raceway Park. Thank them for the CarQuest cage cam, and We See Engineering for the lift that you see there in the infield, which allows us to show you the cage cam pictures. The green flag is out. Back to racing, and Coletta has problems.
Man, it's been a jinx to be up in front of this race. Everybody that's led has had some sort of trouble, and Coletta just didn't get going. Now then he does, but he's already back to about 7th or 8th spots.
He's running fine, but it's way too late because we're coming up on the completion of lap number 48, and Kenneth Nichols has a huge lead as they come down. How about that?
That is a terrible break for him. He was running very strong. He was very patient the whole race. It's a shame to see that happen to him.
Unbelievable that he fell that far behind, and Kenneth Nichols is going to win for the 2nd time in a row if he can just make it through about 4.5 more corners.
But Coletta's already picked up 4 spots since that's happened. He just went around Tracy Hines. Oh, he's got almost boxed in by Kevin Doty. He's not done yet.
Now white flag is out. We've got 1 more lap to go. There is Kenneth Nichols off the 2nd corner down the backstretch. He has a comfortable lead and is going to win with no problem whatsoever. Here is Nichols off corner number 4, and Kenneth Nichols wins the night before the 500, 1996.
Coletta finishes 2nd from dead. He must have been back to about 8th or 9th spot. He was running 3rd on the racetrack, but actually 2nd in the race. He must have passed 7 or 8 cars in the last lap, didn't he, Tony?
In 2 laps, he passed 7 cars. I mean, that's one thing you never count Doug Coletta out. He is such a good driver on the pavement. He's been a pavement specialist in the past, and I better stick to driving race cars, I think.
Wow, that was some race.
I tell you what, I've been in the stands for the last 2 weeks, and I don't think I've missed anything. I mean, I haven't been on the outside of the racetrack to watch a race at Raceway Park in 4 years, and the last 2 races have been unbelievable here.
Yeah, it's a lot more interesting sitting up here watching the races than it might be down in the cockpit driving in them. We're seeing some great action.
The way the cards unfolded tonight, I don't think I would have wanted to have been out there anyway.
Well, there is Kenneth Nichols, who's climbed out of the car and celebrates another win here at Indianapolis Raceway Park.
It's pretty unbelievable. This team did look like it was a little disarrayed last year. They, had the same components, the same car owner, the same people, same everything. They just couldn't get their act together. They must have gone home, kind of rethought. I don't know exactly what they did, but whatever they did, it was right, because they looked like the team of 1994, 1993 again.
Sometimes you get to where you over-engineer yourself, and over the winter at times, it gives you a chance to just go back to basics, start from scratch, and rebuild everything, and it shows. They've spent a lot of time this winter, obviously, and a lot of thinking to get back to where they're at.
Well, the tragic thing for a driver is that sometimes you have people that say, well, it's the driver, he's not on the ball. Look at this restart. Kenneth Nichols had to dive clear to the inside, as did a couple of other cars when Coletta's car didn't take off. I think the car just loaded up. I think all those slow laps, it just loaded up the fuel injection, and it took him the whole straightaway to get that thing pumped up and going again. Once it started going down there between 1 and 2, it was as fast as ever.
Coletta's misfortune is Kenneth Nichols' fortune. Steve, he's all yours. Let's hear for him.
Kenneth, you had a great race. This is 2 in a row at IRP now, and you just hung in there and watched everything happen and was there at the finish.
Well, thank God for 2 in a row. This is great. Everybody kept falling apart in front of me. I was trying to conserve tires early, and I saw, I guess it's Dougie's nose. I figured I better step up the program. But
when Doug took off so slow on the start, did you have a problem missing them, or was that a pretty tense moment?
I thought we was going to the left rear there for just a second, but we had just enough room to sneak by.
Okay, well, great run, and we got a real happy Kenneth Nichols here in the pits, Bob.
A 17-year veteran of USAC racing makes it 2 in a row at Indianapolis Raceway Park. Nichols wins the prestigious night before the Indianapolis 500, and the fans loved it.
The Thunderheads are here in force, as usual.
And the top 10 finishers, Coletta 2nd, Hines finished 3rd, then Mishner and Mike Fedorchak. Finishing 6 through 10, Chuck Leary, Robbie Flock from the blast row. Jeff Sands was 8th, Chris Schultz 9th, and Ryan Newman, who carried one of our cage cams, finishes in 10th position. Great race here at Indianapolis Raceway Park tonight. And before we do anything else, we want to thank Tony Stewart for joining us here in the booth tonight and wish him the best of luck tomorrow in the Indianapolis 500. The Indianapolis 500 can be seen live on ABC Sports with coverage beginning at 10 o'clock Eastern Time. The 80th running of that great Classic and the US 500 can be seen on ESPN at 2 o'clock Eastern Time tomorrow. Our next Thunder, well, it will be at Richmond Raceway in Virginia. The Silver Crowns, the Midgets, and the Formula Ford 2000 cars. For Steve Butler and Larry Rice, again, thanks to Tony Stewart. Good luck. I'm Bob Jenkins. So long, everyone.